Welcome to Pink Kink,
where we talk about the pretty, twisted side of kink.
I'm Princess Rara.
And I'm Dara, the Electro Khaleesi.
Whether you are a new kinkster or have years of experience, Pink Kink will help you level up your kink knowledge.
Join us on this journey as we talk about our personal experiences and use the knowledge we've gained over 28 years of being involved in both private and professional aspects of this lifestyle to help you explore every facet of kink.
Get set for an adventure. Not only will you learn and grow, but we promise loads of laughter, turning each episode into a fun party. So fasten your seatbelt and let's get this show started. Pink Kink runs off the generosity of our devoted patrons.
As a patron, you will become a member of our special Discord server, receive some adorable Pink Kink stickers, as well as have access to a monthly behind-the-scenes podcast. Patrons also get discounts at our Etsy shop, Pink Kink Boutique, and our online classes at Pink Kink Institute.
In addition, our impactful and electrifying Pink Kinksters get special audio and video episodes. And finally, patrons at our highest tier will be recognized as producers, both here on the podcast and on our website.
If you would like to become a patron, you can visit us at patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast or click the link at pinkkinkpodcast.com.
Today's episode is produced by our electrifying Pink Kinksters. Thank you, Jay, Witcherman, Brianna Lynn, Daddy J, Fabe, Embers, Blossom, William P, Claire, Lady Blooding, Naughty and Nice, Butte Pain, Northern Sir, Amanda Panda, Kat, Stefan, Shadow Phoenix, Christopher, Kilted Sir, Brian, May Cry Devil, Ruby Riot, Mistress Velma, Enchanted Sparrow, The Wombat, Impact Hazard, Twitch, The Midnight Girl, Sinful, J21, Daisy If You Do, AK Harley Chick,
Violet Rain, Serenity, Belle, Eric, Sweetie Todd, Lady Affliction, Dr. Dave, Pumpkin Pie, Ms. Tourmaline, S'more, Hacksaw, Kinky Katie, Wee Mad Beastie, To Be Better For Me, 3 a.m. Thoughts, Forest, BP Bryn, Crash Override, Little Bean, Kinky Bear, Barbie, Navigator Bard, Frost, Sinful and Naughty, Coffee and Chaos, Noir, Haley's Comment, Mr. Pillsbury, Peaches, Mighty Owl, Princess Sassy Pants, and Lady and Lex.
This episode comes with a trigger warning. We will be discussing needles, blood, and predicament play that may cause you to be triggered. Please use caution when listening to this episode. You have been warned.
And now Dara is on the floor. Because she is already triggered.
Yeah, because she knows what I'm going to be talking about. And
yeah.
So But it's in all seriousness, we're going to be talking about some classes that I've taken, some scenes that I either witnessed or participated in myself. And well, I know you guys are very well aware at any point in time, I might be talking about blood and needles. This one is particularly bloody.
Yep.
So,
do you have a vomit bag in here anywhere? Because I know you have tissues, but that's not going to be enough.
I'll move the trash can closer to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And put it chucks underneath you in case you shit your pants.
No, it shouldn't. No, I won't shit my pants, but you could put it on as a bib and then I can just like cover the microphone.
I guess you could do that too.
Okay. Yeah, that'll work. Or mop the tears as I sob uncontrollably with, the mentioning of everything.
Well, welcome to Winter Fire episode part 2.
For real this time.
Because Dara took a lot of notes, and so therefore we're going to be talking about a lot more than I'd originally anticipated.
You love it.
I don't complain. Listen, we already know what we're going to talk about. That's perfect.
It's fantastic. Less work for us.
So when last we left it, it is now Saturday morning.
Well, we woke up that morning.
My coffee sub made me coffee. This time the correct amount.
Well, it wasn't that it was the correct amount. It was small, but it was like super potent. So I made you like an espresso the first time. So then I learned how to actually do it for 2 people this time.
So we did that. We stuck Q-tips up our nose.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Passed our COVID tests.
This was at 8-ish o'clock in the morning, right?
I don't know.
8:30? I had a class at 9:45.
Yeah, I wasn't doing anything till like 10:30. So
right. So
I smartly did not plan on taking anything first thing in the morning.
But it was hypnosis. I wanted to take it because the only other hypnosis class that I've only done it with like one other person. So I wanted to see what it was like with another person.
Cool.
So I wanted to compare.
Yeah, so I happily stayed on my bed with my coffee and my breakfast banana bread and stayed out of the way, figuring all those who needed to be out by a certain earlier time would have priority.
I think Naughty and Nice came with me.
Yes.
And Daddy J came with me.
Yes.
And we were all like, chicken running around the room. Okay, we got to do this. We got to do this. We got to head down so that we can do the COVID thing and get cleared for that. And then we got to do this and blah, 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 blah.
And I just took my sweet time because I had, as I said, I was not in a rush.
So we had chicken running.
Do you want to talk about your hypnosis class?
Well.
Do you have notes on it?
Yeah. Did you not hear what happened? We didn't tell you this part?
If you did, I don't remember. It's very possible.
You'll remember as soon as I start talking about it.
Okay, but the people who we're talking to now, they don't know.
No, I'm just because never mind. So you were asking me if I took notes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nope. No, I did not actually.
Okay.
And there's a reason. So 9:45 hypnosis class after having my hella awesome Friday night. I was so high from Friday night. I was there.
How high were you? Oh, sorry.
Like
is that my job?
Fucking kite. I was in the stratosphere. I mean, I was that happy with how Friday night turned out in the end.
And I was in a fantastic mood.
You were in pain.
But I was hurt and I was dragging.
You looked like you had a stroke because you couldn't move one of your arms.
No.
Like, that's an awful thing to say, but that's kind of what you were doing.
I really, and the problem was it was my right arm and I'm a righty. And I had to drink coffee left-handed.
Oh my God. Could you even do your COVID test?
I could, thank God, but it wasn't easy.
Prop your arm up on a pillow while you're trying to swirl it. See, I wasn't there for this, so I don't know what you actually did, but I can picture this. Okay. We go down, we do our thing. We're sitting in the class, and it was cute because Cindy was there. There was a couple of other people who were there that I knew. We were chatting. Class starts, and they're talking, and it was a lot. So the first time I went to a hypnosis class, it was more of a comedy presentation. Two demo people were there, and he made them do very funny things, like think their boobs were talking to each other.
What would your boobs say if they were talking to each other?
I don't know.
I think one boob would be going, "I'm bigger than you are," but that's just in my head.
But apparently her tits were having a conversation and she was trying to get them to shut the fuck up. And every time the audience clapped, they got louder. It was really funny.
Oh, that's mean. I love it.
It was super, like, so you originally had said, I don't see the point in hypnosis. That is the point of hypnosis.
Yeah, to me, that's just not kink per se, but that's me.
But she was slapping her own tits trying to get them to shut up.
Okay.
That's kind of kinky.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that had, this other one was definitely more the background of hypnosis and it was more clinical. It wasn't as much
was
of
it
a
the
show.
why? Did you get the why?
I was supposed to get the why, and I was all excited for the why, and then I started to get tired. Because it wasn't as in-your-face entertaining as I was expecting based on my experience with the other person. I started to kind of like tilt my head a little bit. I was leaning on Daddy J. People next to me were like, "Oh, it's okay. You're tired. It's really early." I was chugging coffee like nobody's business. And then I started to feel sick. I was like, uh-oh, this is a problem. I really started to feel sick. I started to get dizzy. I was feeling nauseous. I had a headache. I was like, this is a problem. And I can't sit here because I'm going to throw up on someone if I continue to sit here. So I kind of was mentioning to Daddy J, I was like, I don't feel good. I think I'm going to go to the bathroom. So I stood up, trip ran out the room. I didn't make it to the bathroom. I ended up, there was a water station right outside of the room. So with ice water and stuff in the tanks. So I chugged some water. I sat, and then I just sort of collapsed onto the floor, and I just sat there. And then I started crying. And this was one of the most intense drops I think I've had since my very first drop ever. That one lasted 3 hours. This one luckily did not, but it was super intense, and it hit me like a goddamn truck. And I just literally sat there in front of this door crying, just streamed snot, tears, everything, crying. And it kind of annoyed me that there were several people that walked past me and stepped over my legs as I'm sitting there crying.
And said nothing to you?
Said nothing. Not one single. There was about 3 or 4 people that did this. And at that point, I'm almost in crisis mode, but I couldn't speak. I could not
talk at all. I couldn't move. I was completely locked down, full-blown meltdown level drop.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was maybe 20 minutes. I'm not sure. It felt like 3 hours, but it was probably only 20 minutes. Daddy J was like, this is probably too long to be in the bathroom. So he comes out the door looking for me, finds me on the floor, and then I got worse. Like hysterics, crying. So he just kind of like, do you want to go back to the room? Yeah, that's all I could say was, yep, room. Scoops me up, hauls my ass to the elevator, up the like literally supporting me the whole way, takes me back in the room and drops me on the bed. And I couldn't move myself. So he's like trying to take off shoes, trying to get me into the bed, like the whole thing. And I was just fucking dead. And I think I passed out. I think the only time I woke up was when you guys came back in the room, and I don't know how long later that was. Like, I have no sense of time passing for that day.
Mm-hmm.
But it was vile. I don't ever want to go through that again. And I have a feeling it was a combination of severe drop and just really, really tired from going to bed at 2 a.m. 2 days in a row.
Mm-hmm.
But it hit me so hard.
I did know the story. I just didn't realize, I didn't know as many details as you just shared because you were in no position to share much of anything that day.
I couldn't talk.
Yeah. So, yeah, that sucks. I haven't had drop like that since I think my first year of kink.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I haven't done it since how long have I lived here since I moved back? 9 years?
Yeah.
Almost 10 years. I think I'm going on 10 years. The last time I dropped was literally the first month or two that I moved back here and did a really intense scene with somebody.
Yeah. I surprisingly did not drop, but I had so much happening. Like there was literally never time to drop. So while you were dealing with that, I was having one of my highs. If you guys have been following us long enough and you listened to last year's Winter Fire, you heard us tell the story about standing in line for registration or for something and somebody recognizing my voice, somebody who was blind.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Right? A blind gentleman who recognized my voice from TikTok. So we'll call him Blind Mike, and that's actually how he introduces himself. I had received, prior to Winter Fire, I had received a message from Blind Mike's wife, and this is her scene name, and I love it, Nilla-ish.
That's adorable.
Right? And she had reached out with the most fascinating request. They wanted me to meet with me and talk to me about maybe teaching Blind Mike how to do needles and staples and stuff. And just so you guys know, I have permission to share all of this. I did double check with them.
Right.
In fact, there's a picture on FetLife under, I think, Nilla-ish's account where I am tagged. So I have total consent and permission to share all of this. I was very fascinated by this request. First of all, I was honored. I was completely and totally honored. Like anytime anybody comes to me to teach them, I'm already honored. But this is a like next level of trust. And I really was thinking long and hard about how, or even if this could be safely done given the limitations. So I sat down and met with the two of them at the bar and we talked about it. And while talking and explain and asking questions like how do they perceive this happening? How does he work around these issues that I see as a potential problem? We all agreed needles was probably not going to be able to happen.
Right.
That I couldn't think of a safe way to do it because obviously he sees through his hands, right? And he's going to end up touching the tips of the needles, which, yes, this is his wife. And yes, I'm sure they are fluid and blood bound. That's still a level of risk that maybe he's not comfortable taking.
Or her.
So we all agreed that this was not going to happen. So now we're talking about staples. And I was like going, staples, I can see how we can make this happen. But this was going to involve both of them. This was not your normal case of a bottom who gets to just sit there and not think. She was going to have to be a very active part of this scene because she was his eyes.
Yes.
And help it. So we talked about it. We worked through some issues. It was honestly, for me, it was so incredibly
motivating that here was somebody with this limitation they couldn't see, and they were fucking not going to let it stop them. And this coming on the heels of the night before of the gentleman doing self-tie in a wheelchair. That made me realize that we talk about kink being customizable, but goddamn fuck it. It's not just about customizable, about you get to do what you want as far as your dynamic or what kinks. This is totally customizable. Here are people with very obvious disabilities who are not letting it stop them.
Well, remember when we talked to Gothic Metalhead about adaptive poses for people who had issues with like leg positions and stuff? I mean, same thing.
Yeah. So I left that meeting flying high because I was so excited. I was also nervous as all fuck because I did not want to fuck this up for anybody. But I left because it was time to hurry up and eat lunch, and then it was time to teach my class. So I taught teaching. Your scene went wrong. Now what do you do? Now the only frustrating part about it is there was a class that I wanted to take,
right,
about sadistic needles. That originally my class was at a different time and I could have taken the sadistic needle class. And unfortunately, it got rescheduled, my class. So it was at the same time. So I told Naughty and Nice that she was banned from coming to my class because she was going to come to my class to support me. I'm like, you took this class already when I taught it at Naughty Noel. You were banned. I am sending you as my proxy to the sadistic needle class. And you better take fucking good notes and come back with information.
Did she take fucking good notes?
She did.
Good for her.
She did very well with that. And she shared with me later all the goodies of which I implemented that very night.
Oh,
which was
that's
great.
A story for later.
And yes.
We're not there yet.
The class was wonderful. It was a packed class. My only complaint was the room I was in. It sucked because there was literally no door to the classroom. So anybody, I heard from other people, because not even from people who took my class, but people who just took a class in that room, that if you ended up having to be in the back, there was a lot of distractions from the outside where you could hear people just talking and hanging out.
Oh, because the bar area was right below it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but I was very honored and excited that it was a full class because, you got to teach these things and you pray that people show up.
Right.
Because I have taught a class once with 2 people in it.
Well, I'm sure it was still good.
It was a good class, and I ended up just sitting down talking to them. But it was also, the class was a consent class. And
that kind of blows that not many people took that then.
Well, my thought process on this is people who come to conventions, rightfully or wrongfully, feel they have a solid understanding of consent because they've reached the level of kinking that they go to a kink convention.
Okay, but that's not entirely accurate.
I didn't say it was right. I just said so they tend to focus on other stuff. But this one was great and people participated because I love it when people can participate because it means I get to learn and update my notes. And so the few people who have shared with me had great things to say about the class, which is wonderful. And I kept reminding them to please fill out the forms. And so they invite me back. And I had a blast. It was great. And so that was really the only thing that I did on Saturday is the class and meet with Blind Mike and Nilla-ish.
Okay. Well, then I will bounce back to my Saturday afternoon.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I did shop too.
Yeah. So I was going to the shopping section next.
I kept saying I wasn't going to, and then I kept going.
I shopped every single day. Every single day that I was there and that the shopping was available, I went to the shopping area because I'm ridiculous. Okay. So after I was done dying, I wanted to go back up to the shopping area. I don't remember why we were going. Vixen, I think, wanted something to go back up there. So I just went with her and Daddy J. And because Vixen and I never made it to the other side. We went left and we didn't go right or something. We needed to do that. So we wanted to go back and see what was on the other side. We hit one room and there's Cosmo suddenly coming out. We were like, oh, hey, talky, chatty. And this is the part that you're going to start dying laughing. I think I told you this, but he starts telling us about this other Electro Top who had this amazingly great idea for a game to play with Electro.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and he was so impressed with this that he wanted to tell me because he wants me to do it at Risque. He was so excited about this.
What was this ingenious idea that you should incorporate?
That I should do?
Yeah.
Oh my! It was what was it? Oh my God! It was Operation.
No.
Yes.
I think you should do that. What a great idea.
Well, I just kind of looked at him and I went, yeah. We've been doing that at Risque for like a year.
I think I first mentioned to you to do this game
Yes.
back in 2021 or 22.
No, it was 22.
Yeah, 22.
We
So almost 2 years ago.
have been doing it for a year. Because remember the first time we ever did it was at your house? We
Yeah.
did a practice session here before, and we kind of fucked it up because the person that we had on the table was actually allergic to.
And I'm pretty confident in saying you played it at Winter Fire 2023.
We did. And that was when all of the photographers were stupid pissed at us because more than half of the people in that playing that game had armbands that said we couldn't do, we couldn't have pictures. So yeah, we've been doing this game for a bit,
Wee bit.
a while. So he just kind of was like, his brain just melted. He was just like, wait, what? I was like, seriously, did you not notice that we've been playing this at Risque? Apparently not.
Cosmo's a little clueless sometimes.
Well-
Love him to death, but sometimes he's a little clueless.
So the problem is he doesn't necessarily anytime ever come over to the electro area to look because he doesn't like electricity.
But he did have fun whacking me with the toy.
He did after he asked if he was going to feel the electricity.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you're done. You have to worry about that. Then he had a blast. We'll get him soon. So I was just like, okay, so basically then he goes, okay, so here's my idea. I think we should get a bunch of electro tops for to do this, and you should do like a race, an operation race. You have a set number of pieces on somebody and you pull them all off with the electro and see who gets to it first. You should have like 5 or 6 of them. Well, I was like, oh my God, that's a really cool idea. Who was telling you about this? Because remember, I'm standing there with Daddy J and Vixen, who also does electro. And I was like, well, Vixen's right here. She could totally do it. Daddy J could probably do it if if we had extra wands and stuff. And down the hall comes Cards and his fiance. And he goes, yeah, it was Cards that was telling me about it. I was like, oh, really?
Fascinating.
I was like, well, that's cool. So now we have like 3 basically full-time electro tops and 1 part-time electro top, which is Daddy J. And then who should show up? Not 5 seconds later, coming around the corner, but
Who?
Noir.
Another electro
Another
top.
electro top. And
That's
we
crazy
told them
talk.
about this. And as we're telling her about this, what do you know? Another electro top shows up. It was Hot Asian Guy.
Okay. Electric jokes are running through my head that you were all attracted.
Oh yeah, no, there was an instant connection. It was a happening hallway right there.
Yeah.
The vibe was just going. And it was almost palpable, But we were just talking and spitballing ideas. And we said, oh my God, we need to have a separate, we need to plan this in Discord. We need to practice over the summer. We need 6 fully fledged electro tops. Who can we do? Who can we get this? And we were like, oh my God, duh, photogenic. So obviously, and then Cosmo goes, yeah, we absolutely have to have this at the next Pink takeover at Risque for your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, that sounds great. Side note,
Yeah.
there are now 3 scenes apparently that I'm going to be involved in for that particular party that people have now told me I'm going to be doing.
Oh, yeah.
I did not come up with any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. I think 2 were from you.
I know one is from me and Vixen.
Yeah, that's the one, the predicament one.
Yeah, that we came up from a predicament class, which
Yeah.
I'll talk about when I get to Sunday. I'm
but
not on
you
Sunday
also
yet.
want me to do the humiliation one.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not going to do any electro that night. I'm just going to be doing 3 scenes apparently. I think we should spread these out a little bit.
There we go.
But anyway, so it was super funny how we all ended up in that place at that time talking about this. And now we're all in the server and, we're going to be, hopefully we'll practice over the summer. But I did actually take a class that afternoon that I sat through and learned a lot. And it was my favorite class of the entire weekend. So
Aw.
I really need to talk about it. Do you have anything to add in between so I can take a break? But
Well, I don't really have anything until we start talking about our scenes on Saturday night.
okay, so I guess this is me again. Hang on,
Okay.
let me take a sip.
Okay. I took my classes on Sunday. I took 3 classes on Sunday.
Yeah.
So that'll be your break when we get to Sunday.
Got you. Mostly because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So the class that I took was urethral sounding for vaginas. So I have not taken a sounding class for penises, but I do know somebody who's fully trained in it who's going to be training me in it. So that'll be fine. But this was just different enough that I was like, I am highly intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't even realize that you can do urethral sounding on vaginas.
As somebody who has had a catheter, yeah, I knew.
Yeah, I know you knew, and I knew because I've seen porn. But no, it was really cool. So it was amazing. It was the fucking single best class I think I've had at a winter fire. So shout out to them. I believe the one presenter was Echo, and I don't remember the name of the other one. I learned so much. I am 100% using what I learned on an episode. We're so doing this. In fact, I already started the notes for it. That's how pumped I am. They had so they had 2 volunteers. So after we went through the anatomy, and I'm not going to get into it because I want to save all the information for the episode. Yeah. But they had these 2 volunteers to do the practical part.
Yep.
So the top puts the sound in, and the one person had done it previously, had been sounded before, and was like, yeah, this is a kink. I like doing it. This is why I volunteered. And while they're getting this poked into them, was very calmly and very matter-of-factly explaining the sensations to the audience. And by the way, there was a camera going up that hoo-ha. Like right in there. And a giant screen. And every once in a while, this was the best part. Every once in a while, the screen would, because they didn't have the part on where it would just stay.
No.
That it wouldn't stay on. So like every once in a while, it would darken and the screen would disappear. And everybody in the audience, ah! And then.
What was that again?
Ah!
Okay, just checking.
And everybody in the audience would just be like, oh no, put it back, put it back, put it back. We're missing it. And poor Echo would have to like, oh shoot. Oh, like, and hit buttons. It was super funny. So the first person was just very calmly explaining this. And then the second person, I guess, sounding virgin, never been sounded before.
Oh, okay. I thought that was like their scene name.
No. No, they had never been sounded before. They volunteered to do this for the first time in front of an audience, which I'm like, God damn, this is nuts. So, or no nuts, considering vagina owner. But we watched both of these people have multiple orgasms on the video camera live in front of us when the top had the sound in, but then also put a Hitachi on the sound.
Yep.
Holy fucking crap, was that cool looking. I am not ashamed to shay.
You're not ashamed to
I'm not ashamed
either.
to shay. I am not ashamed to say that I was so turned on by this.
How turned on were you? I feel that's my
Right.
job here. Yeah.
I ran upstairs after this class was over and jumped Daddy J.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Thank goodness you guys were done by the time we got back to the room.
Like, jumped. Like, knocked him over and was like, I don't care what you're doing. You're doing me now. Oh my God, it was just so good. So then I think I went to the vendors again because I had to get something. Oh, it was my new binky. I had to get the new binky.
That's right. Yes.
And then I also had to get, remember the set that you got me from Little Toy Fox Box Socks?
Oh, yes. The Electro Impact toys. Yes.
Yeah, that we love so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had a third one, so of course I had to go get that.
Yep.
But I had to get it without the spikes because I ain't doing spikes.
I know. I was really bummed because they have ones with like it looked like pinkish purple spikes.
Well, I can get spikes to screw in, but I don't really want to blood play with that one, so we're just gonna do the holes instead of the spikes. But my new binky had a potion on it from Emperor's New Groove, and it says no touchy, which I thought was really appropriate for me. Daddy J bought me that, and because I had found it on Friday morning when I first went up with Vixen,
Mm-hmm.
and I put it behind all of the other binkies so that
nobody
nobody else
it.
would buy it.
That's mean.
And then I finally grabbed Daddy J and made him buy it for me. So that was super fun. And then, you want to move on to the evening?
Sure.
Did you do meat rack?
I did not
Okay.
because, again, I wanted to get to I was going to start in a specific room and I wanted to get there as soon as it opened and grab a table. So
Well, the main dungeon had this thing called the meat rack from 8 o'clock to 10 p.m. And I didn't really understand the concept of what was happening.
It's supposed to end early. It's supposed to end at 9:30.
I know it didn't end until 10, but I didn't really understand what was happening because I knew I wasn't going to be on the rack, so to speak, because that's an exhibitionist's wet dream down there, and I am not. But Cindy did it. Hot Asian guy did it. There was Jenny did it. A few other people that we know were in there. And all it was, I don't even know if you even saw it.
I never made it there.
Okay. They strung the entire dungeon with rope. It looked like a friggin' spider web. All over, in rows upon rows, there was rope. And people were naked to their comfortability level. And they just put their hands up to kind of like touch the rope like they were being hung on
What happens if you were short?
There were different levels of rope. There were short people. But it was like you could be in a thong and people would come and grope you. So the rule was anything that was uncovered, any skin that was being shown could be groped, touched, stroked, whatever.
I think, didn't Nadia Nice do it? I know that was her plan.
I don't remember if she did. I didn't see her.
It turned out to be way more people than they had anticipated.
It was packed. Way too many people for the actual space volunteering to be a meat. Not the gropers. I think there were more meat than there were gropers.
Oh, goodness.
And I went in to try and
grope.
See people, because I knew at least 4 people I knew were going to be on the rack. And I wasn't aware. I thought it was going to be one person on a rack at a time and there was going to be a line. And, depending on when you got there. No, it was everybody all at once. And I was just like really, really fucking overwhelmed with the amount of people. It was so crowded. It was like anxiety inducing crowds. Like, think of Risque at its worst.
Yeah.
It was like that.
Well, I've heard, again, since I'm part of the Discord server for Winterfire, actively a part of it, if there was one area that people had the most suggestions for, it was in regard to the meat rack, because it was problematic. It was too many people, too hot. It took too long.
And not enough DMs to cover everything.
Right, not enough DMs. And it took too long. It was using up dungeon space.
Mm-hmm.
And it went longer than it was supposed to. And it took too long to undo everything so that people could finally use the dungeon.
Yeah, it was backed up. Well, so Cindy was in there, and I ended up getting to grope Cindy. So that was super fun. She had a really good time with that, she said. And so it was done a little bit around 10.
Mm-hmm.
Vixen and I had already gotten our stuff. We were camped out outside the dungeon space along with everybody else. And apparently, so Noir was one of the DMs for the meat rack. And these poor DMs were trying to clean up. And they were asking for volunteers to come in and help clean up. If you're not cleaning up, get the fuck out. So Vixen and I were like, what the hell? Let's volunteer. We can do that and it'll get done faster. So we bring our stuff in, drop it off in the corner, and Noir says, here, do this. We did whatever she wanted us to do. We moved furniture. We wiped things down. We were like on it. And as a thank you for us helping, like on our hands and knees in our dungeon outfits, wiping things down, moving furniture, we got to get first claim for a space. So
nice.
Cool. Right there is where we want. It's got a mat. It's got a little chaise thing on it, and it has a electrical outlet, which is what we needed. So we were like, yes, on it. And we ended up, it took us about half an hour just to set up. So we didn't start until maybe almost 11 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
10:45 maybe. We played Operation. Like, this was what we wanted to do. We'd been telling people, we had people saying, yes, we want to play Operation. So we did this one person who was at the Electro Skillshare. We had a great time with her. Absolutely amazing. She was our first person. We had lots of a crowd coming in. We had random people joining us to play. It was super fun. And then we got Wild Heathen and his partner. She was on the mat doing Operation. He actually played. So Vixen and I are saying, yeah, we absolutely got to co-top with Wild Heathen. That's exactly 100% what happened. We ended up just co-topping, me and Vixen ended up co-topping and doing just a regular electro scene on, I don't know her name. I don't remember it exactly, but Wild Heathen's partner.
Mm-hmm.
And she was so funny with the wiggles and the, all the noises, and we were having a blast. Cindy was our last one, And here's where the problem hits. A DM comes up to us and says, we're going to have to ask you to stop and pack up and leave. What? What do you mean? What did we do wrong? No, well, it's just you've done a lot of scenes in a row, and the other people need the space for their scenes. And I said, what are you talking about? We've done 3 very short, maybe 20-minute scenes. It had barely been an hour since we had unpacked everything and set up. And it was rope people that wanted more space. And I don't know if you've ever been in a rope scene, Rara, but they take hours. They can take hours. So why the fuck were we being kicked out when it was one of the only places with an outlet?
Were they doing suspension? Were you under a suspension rig? That's part of the problem.
It was a wall space.
Listen, I don't know what the answer to this is. There's actually discussion happening right now on FetLife about this very subject. And as somebody who parked themselves at a spanking bench for 4 hours, as somebody who has parked themselves on a massage table to do needle scene after needle scene after needle scene, I don't feel I should speak. But the problem is what you need is more easily found than what rope suspension. They can only suspend from a rope rig.
There was a lot of different places. There was a lot of rope. What do you call those things?
The rigging things.
Whatever those tower things are. There weren't that many outlets.
Listen, I wasn't there, so I couldn't see where you were, what else was around you.
Same spot that we did last year.
It's one of those problems, and I don't have an answer for this.
Well, the DM was actually really nice about it. He actually felt bad.
Yeah. I heard Hot Asian guy, somebody just unplugged his shit in the middle of a scene.
Is that why he left? Because he was in the space next to us.
Yeah, he said somebody he was literally in the middle of a scene with somebody, and his shit got unplugged.
What?
And it doesn't sound like it got.
Fuck?
Well, here's my question, and he doesn't have an answer. He doesn't think so, but he said it wasn't unplugged gently, which makes me wonder, was it somebody intentionally unplugged it, or did somebody trip over it? I don't know.
Well, they shouldn't have been going around that space because we were on the mats up against the wall. He was right next to us.
But you'd have to talk to him to get all the details.
Where he went. Yeah, I'm going to ask him.
As I said, it would be very interesting for them in future, and this is something, if there's a suggestion area, I would definitely suggest, is that you have to put maybe a section specifically for Electra that has the outlets. Because I know I ran into this problem at the dungeon the other night, is somebody was doing a scene that was not a medical play scene in the medical play area, because that was where they could find an available massage table.
But still,
but the problem
there's
was
a reason that's reserved for medical.
We had people who wanted to use it because they wanted to do needles. So I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, that needs to be that's a DM issue and
I did. I pulled
runner issue.
I sort of pulled the DM over and said,
was it one of our people?
Can you check? No, if it was one of our people, I would have just spoken to them directly. But I said, can you check and see how much longer they're going to be? Because I know.
No, I meant was the DM one of our people.
No.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I don't know what the answer to that is, but it's an interesting problem. I mean, you guys have to understand that Winter Fire, my understanding is they sold over 1,100 tickets.
Way too many people.
Now, they do have 2 dungeons. So I don't know if the answer is to go to the second dungeon, which is usually not as crowded.
But that was where the blood play stuff was happening.
No, it wasn't. I was in the main dungeon. We were in our own rooms.
Okay.
Blood play was not in the same room as the regular.
Well, I don't know why we were in the main dungeon, but that was...
Probably because you would have had to leave the building to go to the second dungeon.
That's what it was. We didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, we ended up taking our sweet ass time to pack everything up, let me tell you. Because I'm sure
you were pissed.
Yeah, we made sure everything was precisely in the correct bag and in the exact order that it needed to go. So it took a lot longer to pack up than, I think they wanted. But I don't give a shit because I was pissed off. We found a different spot basically out in the hallway because there were still other people that wanted to do scenes. And Vixen really wanted to test out her new toy, but I'll get back into that in a minute because I need a break.
Okay. Well, I had a very different dungeon experience than you did.
Well, like I said, it was a bunch of highs and a bunch of lows.
Yeah. No, so Saturday night, and here we go. Warning, trigger warning again, guys. I am headed off deeply into needles and blood talk.
Okay, so I'm going to disappear now. Bye.
Right? You wanted a break. This is nap time for you.
Yep, goodbye.
So Saturday night, the evening started with a special event, activity, whatever, called the Red Room. Is that what it is in the Alice in Wonderland theme?
I don't
know.
think so.
And it might have been called something different, and I'm just remembering it as the Red Room. But the point is, this was for at least 2 hours. It was going to be just medical play. And I got there, the doors weren't even supposed to open until 8. I got there at 10 till and parked and grabbed a massage table. And it was great. I got to watch an amazing scene, 2 amazing scenes, but one, both where needles went into their scalps, which is something somewhere down the line I will do, but I don't feel confident enough yet. But they were really, one of the tops was fabulous, and I was able to ask her questions and get some information. I mean, this was a room, and I'm sure you've had similar experiences where you had the Skillshare with the electro. You're in a room with everybody who loves the shit that you love. And unlike Impact, which it seems like 25 million people are into Impact and at all different levels, when you're in a space specifically for needles and staples and blood and stuff, to find other people who don't look at you like you're a sick, twisted fuck in the wrong way.
Like I look at you?
Right. Yeah. So to be able to watch the stuff and ask questions, it was fucking amazing. So my first customer for the night was Geeky Fox. Now, we've talked about Geeky Fox before. He's the one who I teased about letting Dara break his bottoming cherry.
Sorry.
Right? But he did let me break his impact cherry. So bless his heart, he let me put needles in him. It was his very first time ever doing needles. And while he didn't have a horrible experience, I think this was probably his last time doing needles.
Yeah, I can see that.
It was one of those things where he tried it. He didn't like it. He didn't hate it, but he didn't like it. And he gets to check it off the list, and he was done. Then meanwhile, I was waiting for my next customers, and somebody else came in, and they were looking around, and there were no tables left to be had. I mean, we had people, there was 4 tables, massage tables, all occupied. There were people who found corners where they put down plastic stuff so they could do their blood play and needles on the floor. I mean, we were packed. So somebody came in and they were looking. And meanwhile, I didn't quite know where my next customers were and stuff. I was taught, and they came up to me and they're like, "Are you using this?" And I said, "Well, I'm waiting for somebody." And they went, "Oh," and then one of them goes, "Oh, wait a minute, you're Princess Rara, right?" I said, "Yes." They went, "Oh my God, I'm such a fan." So we got talking and they were very, very sweet. And I said, "Look, I don't know when my next person is showing up. Why don't you use the table?" They were like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Please, go ahead, use it." And so I gave them the table to use, which they were so appreciative. And then I ended up with that same top at Crucible this past weekend. So it's nice to keep seeing the same faces. They did an amazing, intense scene, and I got to watch it. Then across the way from me, somebody was doing blood cupping. And that's the first time I've ever got to see blood cupping.
The fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. So that was cool. I got to watch. There were people on to the left of me doing suturing. It was all the blood that you could think of. It was fabulous. And then finally, when the people who I loaned my table out to were finished, I got the table back and I was able to do 2 more scenes, one with my friend Eric. Adex also did a scene with me there. I teased Adex because what I did is I took what I had learned from Naughty and Nice from the sadistic needle class, and I was doing it. I put needles in Adex's thighs, and then I took string and I wrapped it around the needles so that his legs were stuck in that position. So I told him he was done for the weekend. I was going to leave him like that, where he couldn't do anything because I had locked his legs together. But Eric, this was our first time doing needles together, and he was great and fabulous. And he has inspired me because he has volunteered as soon as I feel that I am properly ready to do needles in his genitals. So I'm sure that would be my next thing. So I was watching this, and then I still had more scenes to do,
but I was told that they were cleaning out this room, that they were shutting down the Red Room party, but I could go down to the medical room that was downstairs on the main floor where the dungeon was. And I went, oh, okay. And then they said, if you want, you can take that massage table down with you. We need to break everything down and get it down there anyway, so that would help us. And my next scene was with 6 and 8's partner. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right because I usually call her by her vanilla name, but I don't want to out her here. And so her scene name is Hyzenthle.
Yeah, don't look at me.
Yeah. So anyway, so 6 and 8 had come to find where I was. So I looked at him and said, oh, good, you're here. You carry down the massage table for me because I have all my stuff. Luckily, actually, I didn't have all my stuff because I only brought the sharp stuff because this is what I planned. So Friday night was impact only. Saturday was my needles blood play only. So he carried it down and we got down to the medical play area and set up in a corner. This was so cool because I got to do sadistic needles with her. I normally hadn't really done sadistic needle scenes at that point, but that's what she asked for. So I was able to use what I learned from Naughty and Nice from her sadistic class. And I put needles in her back, tied string around it so it looked like she was a horse with reins.
Oh my fucking God.
And I pulled the string so that I'd pull her to the left or to the right or pulled her backwards. It was amazing. And I discovered that I really enjoyed the sadistic side of needles. Again, this is all part of my apostrophe that I will talk about, which really happened on Sunday. These were all the little things I should have discovered.
I think you've already talked about your apostrophe in the closing of the anniversary episodes.
Yeah, I hinted at it. That was amazing. And then after I did my staple scene with Blind Mike. And that was so much fun. We talked about anything and everything, whether it was about him being blind, about the playing, just about life in general. And I was able to walk them through it and teach them how to do things. And she even left. We did staple corsets on her thighs and they left with the staples still in and they were going to take them out later. And I told them just, if there's any problems, let me know. And I would, help them take it out. But it was so much fun. And I was so proud of the two of them for expanding their horizons and trying this. I was so honored that they had asked me to be a part of it. It opened up my eyes to not assuming people can't do things if they have those kind of limitations and to just try to be more creative and think about things. And again, I really it was sort of one of those where it was like, duh moments also, because I'm constantly, not that it's a disability, but folks, I am short and 99.9% of the people I play with are taller than I am. And so I'm constantly having to make accommodations to work around the fact that I'm short. And again, I'm not saying that's a disability, so please don't send me any hate mail. But this idea that I couldn't just automatically think, oh yeah, let's just work around limitations and figure it out, kind of made me go, duh, idiot. But that scene, if I had done nothing else the entire weekend but that scene, that would have been enough to fulfill my heart, because the satisfaction, seeing the joy on both of their faces, seeing the pride on Mike's face that this worked. Anyway, I know that they're listening because they're listeners, and I just want to say again, thank you so much. And I want to do more scenes like this with you. So please reach out and let's plan some more stuff.
That's awesome.
The last scene that I did that night was with Cindy and Cindy's wife.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
This
one's actually funny.
This is kind of funny. So they wanted to do something where I would attach them to each other. So I put needles in their arms, the outer part of their arms, had them stand next to each other, and then I used string to tie it together. Now, Cindy's wife doesn't do blood, but she can do the needles. She can do the needles because she's not really looking at it and she doesn't see it. But we discovered something else about Cindy's wife and triggers, and that is here. I should probably know her fet name. I think it's Unholy Seductress.
Yes.
So
I happened to notice that the hub of one of the needles on Cindy was filling up with blood. Now, the funny thing about this is our good friend Moxie Minion, I'm in a different Discord server with her, and she had posted a picture of a needle scene she had done, and that one of the hubs on her needles had filled up with blood. And I had reached out going, oh, that is so fucking cool. How'd you do that? That I would love it. And she's like, I really don't know. This wasn't unintentional. It just did. Maybe this is what did it. Maybe that. And I went, oh, that's so cool. I've never had that happen before. So when it happened on Cindy that night, I was a little giddy. Which I know is an odd thing to be giddy about, people. But remember, I'm a blood player. So I was really, really giddy about this.
So excited.
So excited. So I kept talking about it. I'm like,
Girl.
oh my God, look at this. There's the blood's filling up with the hub. This is so cool. And then I would reassure Cindy. I said, that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. This is fine. I got all the stuff and prepared for it. All of a sudden, Unholy Seductress is like, I need to be unattached right now. Not feeling good. And I went, okay. And I immediately, I pulled the needles out. One of the needles, though, because I had started on her, the ribbon was tied to the one needle. So I couldn't like grab that to unattach the needle from the string. So I had reached behind where I had my sharps container and I had thrown the other needles in the sharps container. I'm holding on to the one needle that's still attached to the string because I don't want to just let it dangle and potentially bump into any of us, including Cindy, who it's attached to. And luckily there was a chair behind us. So somehow I was able to grab the chair, get it a little closer, get Unholy Seductress down into the chair. Meanwhile, I'm like, you okay for a second? She's like, okay. So I quickly grabbed my scissors because this is all the stuff you have to have with you. And I quickly cut the ribbon and was able to put that needle in the sharps container. And I said, Cindy, you doing okay? Doing okay? She's like, fine. I said, okay, I got to concentrate on Unholy Seductress here. So I get down, she's in a chair and I get down on my knees in front of her. And I'm like, how you doing? Are you okay? All of a sudden, she starts to lean forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrap my arms around her. And all I can think of is, oh my God, if she passes out, please, dear God, I hope I can catch her where everybody's safe. And I don't know if the room was empty or I was just so concentrating on her that I didn't notice if there was even anybody else in the room to help. Plus, they only have a limited amount of dungeon monitors and they don't station a dungeon monitor in that room. They're walking around.
Right.
So I didn't even know if I yelled out for help, if there was anybody even around who could have helped me. She did pretty much pass out very briefly, like just a couple seconds. And I did catch her. And then she sat back up. So luckily I managed to keep her from falling off.
Right. Yeah.
The chair.
Which I guess this is not that funny of a story, but it is a little bit funny.
Well, it is afterward because it has a happy ending. I don't even know if she doesn't realize, I think, that she actually passed out. Because Cindy told me when I was telling Cindy the story, because Cindy really didn't notice, because the way we were sitting and the way I was in front of her and caught her, Cindy couldn't see.
Right. Back turned.
Yeah. Well, not so much a back turn, to just her face was on like my shoulder into my neck. Mm-hmm. So Cindy couldn't see that the eyes were closed. She thought she was just like taking a breather for a second and just regrouping. She sat back up on Holy Seductress and she was fine. And then I took care of getting the needles out of Cindy and getting Cindy cleaned up and all of that. And then she went back on Holy Seductress. I don't know if she did it that night or the next day, but she posted a status on FetLife that cracked me the fuck up because this is an exact quote. Sorry for getting woozy after your enthusiastic and graphic description of the needle filling with blood during our scene, Princess Rara.
Well, okay, so here's the other funny part. Rara busts back in that night to tell everybody, because we were done at this point. I had more to talk about Saturday night, but I think I'm just going to skip it and like just do like a here, this is, But Rara busts back into the room and goes, well, now I have another story for what to do when your scene goes wrong. First thing she said when she comes back in the room, well.
Well, it's really funny, too, because that's not the first story from an adventure with Cindy that I'm sharing in the class. Cindy. It's always Cindy. But it was just, and that she, Unholy Seductress is my first to pass out person.
I will be I won't do it, but yeah.
But what's amazing, and this is what I appreciate, is I talked to Cindy afterward because I felt bad. And I'm like, oh my God, I did this to her. I did this to your wife. I'm so sorry. Cindy said that Unholy Seductress could not rave enough about how well I handled the whole thing and how I dealt with it. So that's reassuring. That's good. Because, look, when you're all a 5'0", my panic is always that someone's going to pass out and I'm going to be on the bottom as they fall.
And everybody's taller than you, so that's kind of a risk.
Right? So that's my risk profile. Is I'm willing to take that risk. But it was the end of that night. That's the end of my Saturday night stories. But yeah, I made somebody pretty much pass out.
So I want to say one thing about Saturday night, just to okay, I sound very complainy, but this one was weird to me. And I feel like I grew as a person with this one. There was a guy on the other side of the hallway of the dungeon when we were in that area. And he was doing like a blowjob force scene on his bottom person, like the one where he's standing and the person is kneeling and he shoves them onto his dick kind of a thing. But then I heard zzz, and I was like, what is that? And I saw lights and I was like, that's a violet wand. Where is he putting that violet wand? And Vixen was taking care of the person on the floor with us. So I kind of walked over there. This dude was shoving the tip of the violet wand in the bottom's ear.
Oh, I guess that's within their risk profile to do so.
Here's where I brain melt, panic attack there. And so I walked away very calmly, not showing my internal holy shitness. And I was in my head going, their kink is not your kink. They're risk aware. This is their risk profile. You cannot say anything. That is their risk profile. And I just kept repeating it until I was away.
Good girl.
Yeah, I did it.
Good girl.
I very much did it. All right. So that was it.
So Sunday was a big, big day for me because Sunday was the day I finally got to take all the classes. Yeah, we're going to be this is going to be a longer episode because I have a lot of stuff to share about Sunday too.
Okay, so I'll just really quick blow through my Sunday morning.
You want to do that? Okay.
So I didn't drop, but I didn't get up as early because I was like, fuck this. I'm not getting up early. So I totally skipped this age play party thing that I was going to go to. But I did dress as a little. Vixen dressed as a little, and Naughty and Nice came with us in PJs. And we went to Daddy J left, and then I went to this, what was it called? Like a little storytime Ion?
Yeah, which was run by somebody who I have mutual friends with. And this particular person is an author.
Right.
Of Little's Romance. And when I happened to run into them in the hallway later that day, I read their book.
Okay, but that's part of the story. So hang on a minute. So we're in there, we're doing the Ion, and it was super fun. We got to color, we had snacks, we were being stupid littles, and, we were just going, like crazy. And this person had a really great reading voice, let me tell you, like a straight up librarian reading voice. There is this one part that I wanted to bring up that was really, really special. There was I guess an older-ish lady, and this was her first time being little in a public space and fully accepting her littleness with all of us and noticing how many of us were not young 18-year-olds with the pigtails and everything, and just started crying. And Vixen, like being Vixen, ran over and hugged her. And, we just kind of like gave her stickers and, stuff like we were a little comforting. And she was just talking about how unbelievably grateful she is to be able to find this. And yes, there are others who do this same thing, and it's okay. And it was just really cathartic, I think, for her. And it was really special. And then I ended up giving her my card. And then I gave her the pink kink card and, all this stuff. And then somebody noticed. And then somebody noticed my badge where it said Dara Khaleesi of Pink Kink Podcast.
Because Rara put that in the badge information to
Obviously.
make sure.
This person noticed and was like, oh my God, are you Dara? Are you Dara from Pink Kink? And I was like, yes, actually, that would be me. And they were like, oh my God, I'm such a big fan. I absolutely love it. This is such a good podcast. Turns to their part. Oh my God, do you know who this is? And like absolutely like fanned out the window. And then the person who was running the Ion turned around and went, wait, you're Dara from Pink Kink Podcast? Oh my God, can you do me a huge favor? And I was like, yeah, what's up? Can you tell Rara that I forgot her name. What's the author name?
Oh, I don't remember right now off the top of my head.
Off the top of my head, I don't
but
remember.
But I know Allie Bell is the mutual friend.
Right. So can you tell Rara that blank name says hi? Because I hope she reads my books and I was like, yeah, sure, I could do that. I'm used to this at this point because, I'm the other one on the podcast. It's Rara's podcast and I'm the other one.
You're just
So
along for the
I
ride.
am dragging, kicking, and screaming. But I was, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll tell her. So we did. And that was that. And then I went home.
Yeah, you did. You
Because
had reached your limits.
That was it.
Because you don't pace yourself.
I don't. But the other funny thing is, and I don't know if I told you this, somebody else fanboyed or whatever in the elevator as I was lugging all of my stuff into the elevator. Because they reached out to help me grab my stuff in and noticed the badge. I was like, oh my God, are you Dara of Pink Kink Podcast? I really want to talk to you. I was like, well, hit me up on FET because I'm actually leaving.
There you go. Yes, Dara abandoned us.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
So Sunday, I started my first class was how to do impact when there's a size differential. Basically meaning the top is smaller than the bottom.
Oh, so you and 6 and 8.
Right. So I went to the class and they really inspired me for kicking and stomping, which is not something I typically do. I mean, I have gotten to the point where now when I'm doing impact on somebody, if the height difference isn't too great, I do knee them in the butt. I don't know if there's a technical term for that.
No,
But
kneeing sounds right.
I bring my knee up and I get them. I haven't really used my foot because that's kind of awkward. And I'm worried about falling over.
You're not tall enough.
Right. But they were showing like they had somebody laying down. And I was like, why didn't I think of that? I've seen scenes before, but I think part of what held me back is the scenes I'd always seen where almost the entire scene was the bottom laying down.
The scene you seen to scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, it would be okay for me to have them standing, then lying, then standing, then lying, and whatever we need to do. So I ran out of that class when it was over and ran right upstairs to Little Toy Fox, where I bought another toy.
Of course you did.
Of course I did, because I saw this one and I'm like, I love it. Now, here's the funny thing is so their toys are wooden. So that's been one of the reasons I haven't bought more from them, because wood is not my aesthetic. They had one that's in purple wood. That's actually like the name of the wood. And I just went, we're all going to pretend that it's pink, right? We're all in agreement. It's just a very dark pink.
Okay, so that toy's new name is Dara.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit you with my Dara.
Yeah, that's what it is. So I bought that, and then I ran back to the room to show everybody, and there was Naughty and Nice. And I'm like, do you want to see what I learned? I said, lie down on the ground. And this poor girl, she's already beaten black and blue from Friday night. I made her lay down on the ground, and then I stomped and kicked her.
Oh, was I there for that?
I think you were still there.
I think I was there. I think I was sitting on the bed just watching this going, huh?
But God bless her, she did it. She lays down and I just start, she's like, ow, that hurts.
She's such a good little bottom.
Right? She's like, ow, that hurts. I went, uh-huh.
You're a sadistic bitch.
Right? So then by the time you left, then Vixen and I went to the predicament play class.
Which I was getting all kinds of texts from you guys about.
Oh my God. And there was a lot of us. Cindy ended up showing up and sat on my other side.
Okay, so now you need to tell the rest of this, because I had no idea what the fuck you guys were saying in all those texts.
Well, I think I'm going to explain it now.
There we go.
Right? So a couple of the things that we saw, we started off with the first scene. And again, guys, trigger warning here for anybody who this kind of shit freaks you out. They put a plastic Ziploc bag where they had they cut out like the bottom, actually, so that the top would still be open. Mm-hmm. And then put it around the person's head and then used tape to hold it closed. Mm-hmm. So they could breathe because the top was open, but they poured water in it. So if the bottom was standing on their tiptoes, they were high enough that they could breathe above the water. But if they were flat-footed, then their mouth and nose would be in the water and they'd have to hold their breath.
Right.
So this was the predicament.
Okay, follow.
Do you stand on your tiptoes or do you breathe? You can't do both.
Got it. That's not the one I'm going to do.
Right? No, that's not the one you were going to do. Then they did one where they put electrical boxes in ice water. So the box itself was not electric, but they put the top of it like a conductive piece of metal.
Okay.
And I'm probably not using the proper terminology now, but I'm just more trying to show you. So they put a piece of metal on it and they have the person stand on that. They attached, I think it was like a TENS unit to their calves.
Okay.
And then they turn it on. Now, if you're standing on the metal top of it, you're going to get zapped.
Right.
Or you could get off that so you don't get zapped, but now you're standing in ice water.
Oh my God.
Use your options.
That sounds like fun.
Right?
I would do that to somebody.
Okay. So, and it was great. Vixen was asking questions and other people were like, how does that work so that you don't, because usually electricity and water don't mix.
Don't mix.
But, and I'm not going to explain because I only was paying attention to what was happening, not the whys, because this is not a scene that I would end up doing, right?
But I'm sure Vixen wants to do this now.
The next scene, this is the scene that inspired Vixen and I, and we're sending you messages. So,
Okay.
Dara is a masochist, but not for pain. So trying to come up with a scene that we can do to her that would feed my sadistic side, but not cause her pain. We've discovered it.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
So here's what happened. The bottom spit in their hands and then put, I think in their case, it was M&Ms in their hands, and they had to hold them.
Oh, yes. Okay. Now I remember.
Then there was a cup on top of their head, also filled with M&Ms. And then they also put the TENS unit like on their calves.
Okay.
The rules were, and you have to, like you, this person is not into bodily fluids.
Right. But,
And is
their
grossed
own
out.
spit would have been.
No, even that was grossing them out.
Okay. I might be able to
Okay.
handle my own spit.
Right? If not, we'll have Daddy J spit. If the candy got dropped on the floor, the bottom had to eat it up.
With the spit?
It was their own spit. Is that what happens when you eat? Or maybe there wasn't, maybe it was just water, not spit in their hands. But not only would they have to eat it, but this wasn't like just pick it up with your hand and put it in your mouth. Like a dog, you had to eat it up off the floor.
Oh.
Okay. So one of the greatest things is somebody had asked the teacher, what do you get out of this as the top? And they very calmly looked at everybody and said with a pure straight face, I like to win.
Oh, God, that's so you.
Right?
Yeah, no, I'll just lose.
So the bottom was like, you're not winning this. You're not winning this. And since the bottom was coherent and all that, people were throwing out questions and asking, what does it feel like? What's it like from your point of view? Somebody said something. She answered it. And in the process of answering it, either she turned too fast to talk to the person or she was laughing at what they were saying. The cup fell off her head.
Uh-huh.
Now, you have to understand, this room was packed. Like, there were people sitting on laps, on the floors. This room was packed. The entire place bust into laughter when they realized the bottom had lost.
Holy shit.
Holy shit is right. So, as all of this shit is happening, my apostrophe occurred. And I realized two things. Number one, I am an absolute sadistic fuck.
Because you enjoyed the ever-living hell out of that.
Oh my, not only did I enjoy the ever-living hell, but I started taking notes. What can I do? Like, I don't do the electric part, so what can I do?
This was the equivalent of me running out of my class and jumping on Daddy J.
Yes.
That's how excited I was.
Yes.
If you had Diesel with you, yeah.
No, if I'd had Naughty and Nice with me, I would have heard her.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was.
No, I was just straight up turned on by mine, so yeah.
No. But then I also realized the next part is that I really cannot call myself a switch anymore because I do not have a submissive side. Whatever submissive side I once had is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I am a dominant who just also happens to like to bottom. But I've sort of known that for a while, but I still felt comfortable calling myself a switch.
So it's kind of like you knew you were a brat, but you didn't want to use the word brat, so you used sassy?
Different, because I didn't use the word brat because of the negative connotation, and I decided to just fucking own it. I was still comfortable originally using the term switch because I still had a side to me that I thought could submit.
Okay.
But I realized, no, there's really nobody I could submit to at this point. I can bottom, but there's fucking nobody I could submit to.
Got it.
And I double dog dare them to try. It ain't happening. So I decided that I have now completely entered
Your villain era.
my villain era.
I love it. I love it.
My dominant sadistic villain era. And as a result, I'm starting to do more sadistic needle scenes. And I'm going to talk about that because I did some that night. And that was my big epiphany, apostrophe, whatever you want to call it.
It's an apostrophe. We have established.
So the next class that I took, again, trigger warning, people, trigger warning, was a Needles 201. And I loved the fact that it was called a 201, so I could learn some different stuff. So in this class, they put needles in the bottom and the bottom's back, put Tagaderm over it, and then they stomped on it.
Hold the fuck up. What's Tagaderm?
Tagaderm, you've had tattoos, you've had Tagaderm. Tagaderm is clear, plastic-like stuff, but it's sticky.
Okay, so
it stays on you.
Saran wrap. Got
kind
it.
of. And it covers it. So, and the reason you do that is to prevent blood splatter from getting places. So they did that. Then another cool thing they did, and I'm telling you right now, I would personally never do it. And Dara, I'm giving you a fucking trigger warning. They did a blood draw on the woman. And then just a little tiny bit of blood, and then they put it in her eyes. I tried to trigger warn you. And the blood dripped down. It was so beautiful and looked so cool. I mean, a couple of caveats here for people. Number one, they said, do not put anybody else's blood in your eye but your own. Even though the couple who were teaching the class are married and bloodbound. From a purely safe standpoint, only put your own blood in your eye. You don't put a lot, just a couple drops. It was very cool looking, and that was definitely one of those things where I'm like, that is so fucking cool. I ain't doing that. I loved watching it, and if anybody else wants to do it, I will also watch you. But I am neither bottoming nor topping for that particular one. I am not saying never, because I have fucking learned my lesson. But I'm interested in doing that. So I came out of that. I came out of those 3 classes going, I need to fucking hurt people, and I need to fucking hurt people now. So Sunday night, because Dara had left at this point, so I was on my own with hurting people. I started out the evening with 2 impact scenes. I love her vet name, Titties LLC.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, I know her.
And
she's the one that demo bottomed for me last year for Electro. Right? Yeah, adore her.
So I did her and I did Serenity. And oh my God, did I send both of them home with bruises. Serenity, because she's still newer at this, bruised so beautifully. Oh my God. That's probably the most bruises I've ever left on somebody. And it was a beautiful, wonderful thing. Now it's time to move to the medical play area and take what I've learned. So Naughty and Nice, we started off with put needles on their back, Tagaderm over it, lay her down on the ground, and I stomped on them. And oh my God, that was so much fun. That was great. I got to just totally get the blood going, and it was amazing. And then once we cleaned up from that, she sat back up on the table, and we had some lovely people at the table next to us who we were talking to and laughing. I mean, as I said, in the blood play area, you are with your people. So we all bonded. But I did run into a situation where I introduced myself and the person was like, yeah, I know who you are.
I'm over here crying right now. Like,
but it was very cool. And so then we did the low bus on Naughty and Nice, where 50 needles in her boobs with 18 gauge needles. And while we were waiting for the photographer to come around so we could get pictures of it, because apparently it doesn't count if you don't have picture proof, she went to go touch because she wanted her boobs played with while the needles were in because it feels good for her. And I had to yell at her because she wasn't wearing gloves.
What was she thinking?
Right? I mean,
she knows better.
Granted, again, it falls under risk aware, but that was not a risk I'm willing to take. I don't know how clean her hands were. So she never,
especially with her hands on the equipment beforehand. Yeah, no.
So I played with her boobs, but I didn't play nicely because she was being punished for not following the fucking goddamn rules.
Good for you.
Poor Naughty and Nice. She's just been the recipient of so much of my sadistic side. And she's still trying to decide what she thinks about it all. But she's being a really good sport about it. And then the evening closed out with helping Cindy set a new record. And it was a record for both of us. It was the most needles she's ever had put in her. And it was the most needles I've ever put in a person. And it was 120 needles.
I was about to do that. How many needles was it?
Yes, it was 120 needles. And Cindy was so funny. She was like, you put those in so fast. I'm like, first of all, I'm not trying to do a design. I'm literally just making rows of needles. So once I had pre-counted out the needles to make sure I had the right 120, it was just like assembly line, boom, 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 and put those in. So that was how I finished the night. And then it was dragging myself back to the room because that was 14 scenes, or 15 if you count the 2 different needle scenes I did with Naughty and Nice that night.
Who's counting?
Right? So I was so excited. And then Monday morning, Naughty and I ended up, she had her car, so she drove us home. And I stayed in the lobby with the luggage and stuff while she went to walk to where the car was set. And I started talking to somebody who was in the lobby because, it's me. It's what I do. So I'm talking to them. And then I moved. There was like a rug right next to all my stuff. And I moved it to the other side. So if somebody was helping us load up, they didn't think this rug was part of my stuff. And he's like, oh, that's not yours? And I said, no, it's not. And I pointed to all my pink toys. And I said, my pink suitcase, backpack, everything. I said, it doesn't match my aesthetic. And he looked and he goes, and he saw all the pink and he goes, oh, you're Princess Rara. I said, yeah. He goes, I should have realized when I saw all the pink that it's you. I said, yeah. And then we drove home. And the funny thing is because I didn't recognize where we were at first, because I'm not used to driving home from DC in daylight hours.
Oh, okay.
I'm used to driving home at 2, 3 in the morning from the dungeon. So I was like, I don't recognize this in the light. And then as if all of that wasn't exciting enough, that fucking night was my munch that I had to host.
Yeah, I wasn't there because I was dead at the time.
So I went to the munch where I said, I'm not going to be here for long, guys, because, I'm exhausted from the winter fire. And then still ended up staying 3 hours. Because it's me. It's what I do.
Insane.
Yeah. But winter fire was, for me, pretty much only highs and a couple of mediums, but I didn't have any lows. I was very lucky, very fortunate. It was a time of learning for me. It was a time for change, all good change and growth. And I walked away probably from I've had some amazing winter fires, but I think this one had the most, no pun intended, impact on me as far as my growth process. And so, yeah, I've entered my villain era, which for those who know me is of absolutely zero surprise to anybody.
No, I feel like you've been in your villa.
Yeah.
Villain.
I wish I was in a villa. That's another story.
Villain in a villa. That'd be nice. Hey, maybe Kink takes over Italy and we end up in a villa somewhere with a dungeon. That'd be nice. Anyway, yeah, no, I grew by not completely freaking out in situations where I did not have my emotional support extrovert with me.
No, Dara and I pretty much attended 2 different winter fires.
Yes, entirely.
Dara did all the cutesy, except for the sounding. You did all like the cutesy, sweetsy stuff. And I was over going, hurt people, make them bleed.
Yeah, which we knew going in that there was no way I was going with her to that one. It wasn't all cutesy. Thank you.
The classes and stuff, except for the sounding.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't call them cutesy, but, we beg to differ. Anyway, so that was Winter Fire 2024.
Can't wait to see what next year's is like.
More blood.
Yes. Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you enjoyed what you heard, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a minute of our fun and educational content. New episodes drop every Friday.
If you love what we do and want to show support, there are several ways. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast. You can support our affiliates or help spread the word about our kinky podcast to your friends.
Don't forget to rate and review Pink Kink on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Those 5-star reviews go a long way in boosting our podcast through the algorithm and reaching more listeners.
Sign up for our Pink Kink Institute classes. Shop at our Etsy shop, Pink Kink Boutique. Stay connected with us on social media. You'll find all the links on our link tree posted in the show notes.
Your support means the world to us. So until next time, stay pretty, stay safe,
and stay twisted.